Apa kabar semua? Welcome to This Explainer. Look, think of me as your friendly abang or kakak in safety training today. We are diving into a massive topic that affects almost every single one of us at work. This is part 1 of our Lifting Safety Explainer, and today we're really uncovering what is truly a hidden epidemic. You see, manual handling injuries, they're often just ignored or brushed aside until it's simply too late. We're going to break down exactly why these injuries are so serious and how you can protect yourself. So let's jump right in. Okay, consider the number 2. What does that actually stand for here? Well, according to DOSH Malaysia, that's the Department of Occupational Safety and Health, back injuries from manual handling are the second most common occupational injury in our entire country. Second! That means whether you're a contractor on a construction site, an operator on the factory line, or even an engineer in the office, the danger is right there in front of you every single day. And the actual scale of this problem? It's honestly staggering. We're talking over 8,500 musculoskeletal disorder cases reported to DOSH in just a single year. These aren't just rare freak accidents, you know? This is a hidden epidemic. It's costing Malaysian employers an estimated 1.1 billion ringgit a year in medical costs and lost productivity. But more importantly, it's costing thousands of workers their health and mobility. People so often dismiss a strain as just a backache, but as we're going to see, it is so much more serious than that. Section 1. Understanding your spine. So, to understand why this is happening so much across the country, we kind of have to look under the hood. In your lower back, what we call the lumbar region, you have these incredible little rubbery cushions sitting right between your spinal bones. These are your lumbar discs. Think of them as the shock absorbers for your body, just like the suspension on your car or motorcycle. Now, your lower back bears the absolute greatest load when you're lifting, which makes these shock absorbers highly vulnerable to damage if you bend the wrong way. The physics of lifting are just absolutely wild. Listen to this. If you lift a standard 10-kilogram load correctly, meaning you're using your leg muscles and keeping your back relatively straight, you put about 100 kilograms of pressure on those lumbar discs. But if you lift that exact same 10-kilogram load incorrectly by bending your back and reaching forward, you are slamming those tiny shock absorbers with up to 400 kilograms of crushing pressure. 400! It's literally like parking a small motorcycle on your lower spine every single time you bend over improperly to pick up a box. So what does all that insane pressure actually do to you? Well, it leads directly to the severe injuries we've been talking about. It usually starts with acute muscle strain, that sudden, sharp pain from a single, awkward, heavy lift. Then you have disc herniation, which most of us call a slip disc. This is where the enormous pressure actually squeezes the disc material right out so it pinches your spinal nerve. That causes severe pain, numbness, and leg weakness. And we absolutely cannot forget chronic cumulative injury and repetitive strain injury. These are the slow, quiet killers. Repeated small stresses that just build up over months or even years of packing, stacking, and lifting on the job. Section 2. The true human cost. Every statistic is a real person. So let's look at a timeline from a real case back in 2022. A warehouse worker over in Shah Alam was just working his normal shift. He went to lift a 28-kilogram box alone, but instead of squatting, he bent forward at the waist. Immediately, he felt a sudden, blinding, sharp pain. He had suffered a severe L4-L5 herniated disc. He required major surgery, and his recovery? It took 8 agonizing months. And the tragedy didn't even stop there. Because his back was permanently compromised, he couldn't return to his old job. He was forced into a lower-paying position. This single bad lift devastated his family's primary income. We talk a lot about tanggung jawab, our deep responsibility to provide for our loved ones. Taking a shortcut and lifting unsafely puts that fundamental responsibility at terrible risk. And honestly, this brings us to the most vital lesson we've got to take away from that Shah Alam tragedy. Never lift above your capacity alone. Always use mechanical aids for loads above 25 kilo. Please, I'm asking you, do not try to play the hero on the floor. If a load is too heavy or if it's over that 25 kilo mark, use a trolley, grab a pallet jack, or get a teammate to help you. You only get one spine in this life. Do not risk your body and your family's livelihood just for the sake of saving 5 seconds. Section 3. High-risk jobs in Malaysia. Look, these injuries, they don't just happen in warehouses. They're affecting hardworking people across so many different sectors.
If you're a construction worker, you're regularly dealing with massive 50-kilogram cement bags, steel bars, heavy scaffolding. Factory operators, you guys are constantly lifting machinery parts or stacking finished goods, often in fixed, really repetitive postures. And what about our healthcare workers? Nurses and care assistants face an incredibly high risk because lifting and repositioning human patients is dynamic and totally unpredictable. And of course, in logistics and our booming e-commerce sector, just think of the Shopee or Lazada fulfillment centers. You have high-speed packing, sorting, and stacking. These are all absolute high-stress zones for your lumbar discs.
But here's something that catches a lot of people off guard. Distance and frequency matter too. It's not just about how heavy a single item is. Lifting a much lighter 10-kilogram box, but doing it 200 times a shift, can actually cause way more cumulative damage than one single heavy lift. The same goes for distance. Carrying that 10-kilo box for 20 meters puts your spine under tension for way longer than just carrying it 2 meters. It's the constant, repetitive strain that really wears those shock absorbers down over time.
Section 4, Safe Limits and Your Legal Rights. Okay, your first major guideline here is 25 kilograms. Following international guidelines, Malaysian male workers should not regularly lift more than 25 kilograms alone for a single, occasional lift at waist height. If it's heavier than that, you must use a mechanical aid or execute a team lift. No exceptions.
And for our female workers, the safe guideline limit is a maximum of 16 kilograms for a single occasional lift at waist height. Again, anything above this requires mechanical assistance. But you have to keep in mind, both of these numbers are guidelines for ideal conditions. If the floor is slippery, if the box is awkward to hold, or if you have to twist your body while lifting, those safe weight limits drop drastically. You also deeply need to know your rights under the law here. Under the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994, or OSHA 1994, safety is a shared responsibility. Your employer has a strict legal duty to ensure your safety and health. Employers absolutely must conduct a proper manual handling risk assessment. They have to formally evaluate the load, the task, the environment, and your individual worker capacity. And most importantly, they're legally required to provide safe systems of work and mechanical aids like trolleys and forklifts. If a lifting task is unsafe, you have the absolute right to step back and raise the issue. So the really crucial point here is to bring our beautiful Malaysian culture of gotong royong and tolong menolong straight into the workplace. If you see a colleague struggling with a heavy load, step in. Help them do a two-person lift. Ask for a team lift when you need it yourself. Use the trolleys provided. We must look out for each other on the job site so that everyone gets to go home to their families safe and sound at the end of the day. And, well, that brings us to the end of part 1. I want to leave you with this final, kind of provocative question. What heavy items are you lifting today? Take a moment to just think about your daily tasks. Are you putting 400 kilograms of pressure on your spine without even realizing it? Think about your back and think about the family who relies on you. In part 2 of this explainer, we're going to get highly practical. I'll walk you through the exact step-by-step physical technique that will protect your back for the rest of your working life. Until then, stay safe, watch your posture, and take care of each other out there. All right, let's jump right back into part 2 of this workplace safety explainer. We laid all the groundwork in part 1, so we are picking up immediately with practical, hands-on techniques for workers across all levels here in Malaysia. No need to rehash the basics. It's time to look at exactly how we execute a safe lift on the floor day in and day out. We've got a tight roadmap for this session. We'll cover the stomp method, correct lifting technique, team lift communication, mechanical aids, ergonomics and stretches, and finally, wrap up with your training assessment details. So let's get right into Section 1, the stomp method. Now, before you even think about picking up a load, we really need to focus on mental and physical preparation. You've got to memorize these 5 steps. Think of stomp as your pre-flight checklist. S is for survey the load. Take a second to look for sharp edges, check if it's stable, see if there's a weight limit printed on it. T is for test the weight. Seriously, just give it a little nudge or tilt with one hand. If it feels way too heavy, stop right there. O means organize your route. Make absolutely sure your path is clear of any tripping hazards before you lift. M is move close to the load. You want to be within, say, 30 centimeters of the item so you aren't straining your back reaching for it. And finally, P stands for plant your feet. Get them shoulder width apart to create a rock-solid base, keeping one foot just slightly forward. And that brings us to literally the golden rule of manual handling. Lift with your legs, not your back. I mean, think about it. Your leg muscles are massive and incredibly strong compared to the delicate muscles and discs sitting in your spine. So always squat down by bending your knees, maintain that natural S-curve in your spine, and push straight up through your heels. Moving right along to section 2. Let's talk about correct technique. Now that our minds and bodies are prepped, let's break down the physical execution of a perfect lift. You want to execute these 6 steps exactly in this order. First, get in close. Second, get a really firm grip and use your whole hand for this, not just your fingertips. Third, like we just established, drive up with those leg muscles. Fourth, keep that load hugged tight against your body while you're carrying it. Fifth, and honestly, pay super close attention here, if you need to change direction, move your feet. Shuffle or pivot your entire body. Never, ever twist your back while carrying a load. That is a prime way to cause a severe, sudden injury. And finally, step 6, lower safely. Look, putting a load down safely requires just as much proper technique as picking it up. Bend those knees, lower with your legs, and place it gently. No dropping it at the last second. All right, section 3 is all about team lift communication. Sometimes a load is just way too heavy or awkward for one person. When that happens, we do a team lift. And for a safe shared lift, which is super common in our construction and warehouse settings, communication is literally everything. You must designate one leader to call the count. You've got to agree on your route and destination before you even lift the thing. The communication needs to be crystal clear. Ready? Grip. Ready to lift? Lift. You have to move simultaneously because an uncoordinated lift is incredibly dangerous. And most importantly, if anyone feels a strain or their grip is slipping, yell stop loudly and the whole team stops immediately. Listen, this isn't just textbook theory. Just recently, in 2023, on a construction site right here in Kuala Lumpur, 2 workers were trying to move a steel beam. One guy lifted on the count of 3, but his partner was waiting for a different signal. That tiny miscommunication suddenly shifted the entire weight of the beam onto one worker. The results? A badly torn back muscle and 3 entire months of lost work and wages. It literally takes 2 seconds to agree on a signal, so make sure you do it every single time. Which brings us to section 4, mechanical aids. Honestly, the absolute best manual handling strategy is, well, not handling it manually at all. Under OSHA 1994, your employer actually has a legal duty to provide suitable mechanical aids if there's a significant lifting risk. And guess what? It is your duty to use them. The humble hand trolley or trolley tandon can easily handle 200 to 500 kilograms. Pallet jacks, the jack pallet, are total game changers for warehouse logistics, easily moving up to 5,000 kilos. And for anything over 1,000 kilos or high stocking, you bring in the forklift. Though obviously, remember, you must have your DOSH certification to operate one. The bottom line, if these tools are there, use them. Don't try to be a hero. Okay, section 5, ergonomics and stretches. Let's look at how we prepare our physical environment. Good ergonomics is really just about making the workspace fit you rather than the other way around. Setting up your station properly means storing your heavy, frequently used items right at waist height, so roughly 800 to 1,200 millimeters off the floor. Do this and you'll almost never have to bend awkwardly below your knees or reach way up above your shoulders. Take advantage of adjustable tables and lift tables wherever you can. And always make sure you have enough clear space around you so you aren't forced into weird, cramped postures while trying to wrestle with a heavy load. We also need to talk about prepping your actual body. Leading Malaysian manufacturers like Toyota and Proton have started making pre-work stretching routines completely mandatory. Why? Because the data shows that taking just 5 to 10 minutes for some basic stretches, like stretching your lower back, your hamstrings, shoulders, doing some light trunk rotations and neck stretches, can actually drop back and shoulder injury rates by up to 25%. It warms up those muscles, gets them flexible, and makes them way more resilient before you even start the heavy lifting. Finally, section 6, let's talk about your training assessment. Pop quiz time. Let's make sure you're actually ready for that mandatory compliance assessment with a few sample questions. Question 1, what is the maximum recommended weight for a male worker to lift alone in Malaysia? Take a second to think about it. Got it? The answer is 25 kilograms for a single, occasional lift right at waist height. If it's anything above 25 kilos, you absolutely must use a mechanical aid, like a trolley, or grab a coworker for a team lift. Okay, question 2. When lifting a load, why must you bend your knees rather than your back? Well, like we talked about earlier, bending forward at the waist dramatically spikes the pressure on your lumbar discs. We're talking up to 4 times the normal pressure. Your leg muscles, on the other hand, are built for that kind of stress. They are way stronger and much safer for the job. And question 3, what is the very first step in the STOMP method? The answer is S for survey the load. Before you even lay a finger on the item, you have to assess its weight, see how stable it is, and spot any immediate hazards like a sharp edge or maybe a wet floor nearby. Just a quick heads up on the actual assessment you'll be taking after this explainer wraps up. You'll need to complete a written assessment made up of 10 multiple choice questions. The passing mark is 70%, so you'll need at least 7 out of 10 correct. If you score below that, no big deal, but you will need to review this module and resit the assessment on a totally separate day. Oh, and your results will be officially recorded in your personal OSHA training file to keep us fully compliant with OSH 1994. I'll leave you with this final, really important thought to reflect on as you head out to the floor today. Your back carries you through your entire career and your whole life. Protect it today. A safe lift takes 10 extra seconds. A back injury can cost you 10 years. Angkat nga betul, hirap dengan sehat. Work safe, stay safe. And please, protect each other.